this is probably a good time to do that because we just took attendance. Class will start either 9 a.m. or 1 p.m. Mountain Time. You'll see that on the calendar. That should be in the back end Mod 1 calendar that you should all have access to. We take attendance for all class sessions, 9:01 or 1:01 or 1 minute, essentially after whatever we start counts as a tardy. 9:30 or 1:30 or later counts as an absence. There will be days where we don't have class. Those days are like, or those sections of time will you'll have project work time, where you'll be, you have time to work on your projects and other things, your other tasks. What we'll do on those days is there'll be a Slack thread posted in your Slack channel, and all you have to do is just kind of post in there that you are here, just once and only once. Because like there are 31 of you, and just being able to look and see, hey, 31 responses, it makes our life easier that we know that you're all here. The same kind of rules apply to these posting in Slack threads. Is that 9:01 or 1:01 or later counts as a tardy, and 9:30 or later counts as an absence. Late thread posts do not count. Essentially, as soon as that we hit that kind of cutoff, we don't look at it again, and what's in the books is what's in the books. Please DM all 3 of your instructors. We'll go ahead and introduce ourselves in a little bit if you're going to be out or if you need to communicate with us. It's really important that you message all 3 of us when you need to communicate, because this ensures that 1, we all see it, we're all on the same page. 2, sometimes like I might not get to it and someone else may. So like this will guarantee you like the quickest response. Cool. Any questions about that so far? Pretty straightforward. You're paying money to be here, let's be here. The legal fine print is that if a student's attendance falls below 80% cumulatively for any module, they will not be considered to be making satisfactory progress and will be required to repeat the module. Any absence that results in 5 consecutive missed days is to be withdrawn from the current module and asked to repeat the course. These are kind of like the attendance requirements. Usually, as long, it's hard to do this. And like the important thing is like if something's going on with you, just let us know. Like we care about you as people outside of this whole programming thing. So like if there are issues, let us know and we can figure something out. We can see what we can do for you. Like I know that for myself, and I can definitely speak for Ian and Megan, that we are not like no people. We're more like, well, maybe let's do this instead, right? Like any reasonable request, we'd be like, yeah, we get it. That's cool. And we want to work with you. Like we are not like I said, not no people. So introductions. A little bit myself. My name is Mike. That is how you reach me on Slack. That is how you reach me on GitHub. I will mention that if you want me to look at something on GitHub, do not tag me in GitHub. GitHub sends me a ridiculous amount of emails, and I just forward them all to spam. Slack is probably the best way to reach me for something, right? So if you want to take a look at something, like send me a link to GitHub. A little bit about me. I've worked in tech for most of my adult career. Before Turing, I worked as a systems engineer for a large internet company. I did not want to do that anymore. The job sucked. It was like 80% emails and meetings. And I presume that like you all are here because you didn't like your last jobs. You want to do something a little different and engaging. And so I started programming for fun at work, because working in a tech company, like when you do stuff that's like looks like programming, it looks like work, but it wasn't actually work. And so I did that as kind of an escape from my actual job. And over time, like I spent less and less time doing like my job and more time just learning programming because I thought it was kind of fun, to the point where I was spending probably 90% of my time just learning programming on my own because I thought it was just entertaining and mentally engaging. Those of you who've worked in corporate America know how engaging and fun meetings that you sit in and you're like, why am I even at this meeting? Or that time old favorite, this meeting could have been an email. And so I was looking into making that career change. I asked a friend, like, hey, I'm, who'd switch careers as well. And they said, oh, if you're looking at these programs, you should, go to Turing. And I was living in California at the time. And I was like, Colorado. The only things that I knew about Colorado was that it was square, that weed was legal, and that's where South Park was. Like literally, those are the only things I knew about Colorado. And I guess snow, right? I figured there'd be snow involved. So I packed up all my stuff, moved to Colorado for Turing. This was second half of 2014. While I was a student Turing, back in the old, we call it the old Blakement, the old basement. I firmly believe that you don't really understand something unless you are able to explain to someone else. So I spent a lot of times with other students from other modules, helping out, pairing and stuff like that. And middle of module 3, like when we started module 3, I kind of realized like, hey, like half my time here is over. And I was getting kind of sad about it. My plan was always to move back to California, and like, make those crazy developer dollars, at some startup, being miserable. I didn't think I'd be miserable. I thought that the money would make up for that, but like, no, that's not true. But halfway through, Jeff approached me and asked if I would consider staying at Turing after graduation. In what I call the most dubious career choice of my life. And I call it dubious because I did not ask about salary. I did not ask about title. I did not ask about what I would actually be doing. I said yes, like just instantly. Like I just knew like this is something I wanted to do. And I've been here since, teaching at Turing since. It's been 6 years now, and it's been a wild ride. I spent most of my time teaching modules 1 and 3. And that's pretty much my origin story. I will now turn it over to who's on the next slide. Megan. Megan's on the next slide.
It's me. Hey everyone, my name is Megan. This is how you can reach me on Slack and GitHub. Let's see, I grew up in Iowa. I think I already said that to some of you this morning. And I moved to Denver in 2006. So I've been here for a little while. Unlike Mike, I did not start my career like in the tech space really. Before coming to Turing as a student, I worked in higher education. I worked for a couple of like consulting companies and like a couple of, actually, I guess I did work for a software company, but I was not a technically oriented person. And similar to Mike, I sort of like hated where my career was going. I am not the kind of person who is like very gung-ho about getting like higher level degrees, and my career was moving me into a space where I was working mostly with master's programs. And I don't necessarily think that a master's degree really helps you all that much in many different cases. So I was like just very unhappy. And so I like quit my job and didn't know what I was going to do. And then my parents started freaking out because I was just traveling and not working or like furthering my career at all. And so I decided to completely change my career path. Came to Turing. I was in the, what cohort was I? 1711? I think that's right. I was in the 1711 cohort. Got to spend a lot of time with Mike in Mod 1. Very fun. And then sort of similar to Mike, when I was getting ready to finish my Turing career, it was actually Sal, who was our previous backend director at the time, was like, hey, do you want to stay in the basement forever? And I also did not ask any follow-up questions and just said yes. So I've been working at Turing since I graduated, and now I have Windows. So that's a development that has happened in my life because we're no longer in the basement. Is there anything else I need to say about myself? I have a dog. You'll see her a lot, probably.
Yeah, I also have a dog, and she'll be making appearances in the middle of class sometimes. She's a very jealous dog and does not like me talking to other people, even on Zoom. So let's toss it over to Ian.
I'm Ian. I use he, him pronouns. I'm at Ian Douglas on Slack and GitHub. And if you want me on LinkedIn, I'm Ian Douglas 736. I mentioned in the intro, originally grew up in Canada, like way, way northern Canada, like same latitude as Anchorage, Alaska, but north of Montana. So like way up north, Northwest Territories, if you're curious. Not a lot to do as a kid growing up, except play hockey and stay indoors. And so my dad came home with a computer, and I basically taught myself basic programming in the basic programming language. This is back in the 80s, so I've been around a minute. And basically, I knew from when I was a kid, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to like tell the computer what to do, because when I tell my dog what to do, dog doesn't always listen, but the computer always does what I tell it to do. And I thought that that was just awesome, and that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. So I took kind of the typical sort of path, started in electrical engineering with kind of like a software minor, switched over to computer engineering, which was more software, and did a hardware minor. So I still tinker with electronics, got lots of like 3D printers and electronics and stuff going on in the background here. Consider myself very much a maker kind of mindset of like, let's try a thing, let's invent, let's try it, let's tweak a dial, turn a knob, let's see what happens. Love to experiment, love to sort of dig in and find out why something doesn't work, which, you know, led very easily into a mindset of like kind of this tutor teacher sort of mindset. Like Mike, you know, I lived in California. I did work for startups, doing all the chaos and things like that. Also worked at a lot of mid-sized companies. I've done engineering management as well. Lots of hiring, lots of career prep. And so about 7 years ago, I actually got involved with Turing as a mentor. So you've all been paired up with a mentor now. And I was one of those mentors back in the day, and mostly helping with career development and interview prep and things like that. But then Jeff just called up one day and he's like, you want a job? Unlike Mike and Megan, I negotiated the heck out of everything. Salary, like days I would work, like the whole bit, negotiated all the things, because you just learn to do that in tech. Definitely please negotiate, advocate for yourself, get what you want. It does matter. And especially advocate for those around you as well. And so I've kind of taken this traditional role in tech, and so a lot of experience in programming and lots of different kinds of system design and system architecture, and happy to kind of relay all that information as well. I also have a dog. He's down here on the floor beside me, but you can see him in the picture. Started out as this nice little ball of white fluff, and now he's this 100-pound British lab. He's enormous and awesome, and love him to pieces. His name is Riker. My wife didn't want a puppy, but she's a Star Trek fan, so I thought maybe naming her after a Star Trek character would kind of win her over. Didn't work. But now that he's fully grown, she likes him and takes him for walks and runs and jogs and stuff. But she did not appreciate the puppy years. But little does she know, labs stay puppy from the neck up for like the first 3 years of their life. So she's still got to deal with like puppy mentality and puppy attitude. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Looking forward to kind of interacting with all of you in class.
Cool, fantastic. Let's move on. So want to talk about like just an overview of how these next 6 weeks are going to go for you. And let me scroll. And we generally kind of mentally divide things up into two pieces, right? How to do the job and how to get and keep the job. How to do the job is kind of centered around Ruby fundamentals, object-oriented programming, design, and how to keep a job. We have Gear Up, which we'll be talking about a little more later this week, and professional development. Both of these things are how we kind of intertwine it throughout your entire time. And I think that these two pieces here are really what kind of separates Turning Out from other programs. I'm the strong opinion that like the how to get the job, how to keep the job, the professional development skills, how to work with other people, how to be just in general a decent human being is probably going to be the most important thing you learn at Turing, how to work in teams. How to do the job, Ruby fundamentals, object-oriented design, like there are many different ways that you can learn that. Books, other schooling, whatever. This stuff is what's special and what makes what I believe makes Turing graduates stand out from others. Right, like there's a kind of expectation about what a Turing graduate brings to a job, and I think that this is like centered around it. Like, I say this often, I will always repeat it, that like how good a person is at programming like really doesn't matter. People like people are looking for someone they want to work with, someone that's professional and knows how can get things done. And so these next 6 weeks we're going to have projects, challenges, and assessments. We're going to have 4 projects. There's going to be a solo project, which will kick off later today. There's going to be a paired project where you are going to be when you're going to make a new best friend. For 3 of you, you'll get to make 2 new best friends. That's just because there are 31 of you, and that does not divide evenly. So there'll be a triplet, a tripod, a tricycle. There's going to be a group project where that will be 4 to 5 people per team. And then we're going to wrap things up with a solo project where you're going to show us all that you've learned in the preceding month-ish. Every week, we're going to have an independent challenge. These will be between 1 to 2 hours. They're kind of checkpoints of your understanding so that you can see where you are as compared to where we expect it to be, where your learning is. Essentially, what we will do is that we'll set aside the time. You'll be working individually. We'll give you a code problem to solve, and you'll spend 1 to 2 hours working on it. We'll tell you how long you have, and then you'll be submitting a pull request. The instructor will do is that we will grade these submissions and provide you with feedback on it, individual feedback, and these will happen every week. We will also do a group walkthrough, meaning that we will go over with you the process, the problem-solving process, and the code process to solve the problem after the fact. We want to see an upward or a steady trend in scores. I want to say that these independent challenges will get harder as time goes on because our expectations of you will grow as time goes on, right? I think it's unfair to say, I'm like, hey, we're going to give you like a week 6 level difficulty your first week. That doesn't make sense. What are you going to learn from that? What are we going to learn from that? But what we'll do is that we'll give you like this week's one is going to be easier, and as you learn more things, we will add the stuff that you've learned to these independent challenges, and you'll be expected to get most of the way through them. These will be pass fail. They do not count towards graduation. Not graduation. I'm sorry, module promotion. And again, I do want to mention that like we are not expecting you to complete the entire thing. There is a point that we kind of like want you to get to. Cool. Evaluation and assessments. Week 3, we have a mid-module diagnostic where you will code in front of an instructor for about 45 minutes. And that's for us to give you additional feedback on exactly kind of where you stand, what you're doing right, what you're doing less than right, as they say. And week 6 will be what I would call a number of things that we will use to determine your promotion status. And the thing is that the week 6 final assessments, they are not going to be anything you've never seen before. Week 6 will consist of an independent challenge and a mid-module diagnostic where like the same format as a mid-module diagnostic will be watching you code, right? The idea is that we will never ask you to do something, what I call for realsies, like for make it count with you have never seen it. You have never seen it before, right? You'll be as prepared and as possible going into them. When we get closer to week 6, we'll talk more detail about what's required of you to be promoted to module 2. And to kind of talk about it briefly, we want to see you pass one of your paired or group projects. You need to pass your final solo project. The average between your paired assessment and individual time assessment must be passing. And there is a link there to the things if you want to read that more in detail. But again, I would not worry about promotion too much right now. We're going to revisit this, I believe, in week 4. It's more important that you concentrate on learning now. Any questions to this point about the things? Great. Megan, are you ready? Oh, Megan, are you ready?
I think so. All right, cool. So y'all are just starting what will be like a very quick and also very long journey. Time is going to start doing funny things here soon. So I wanted to give you a few like guideposts to just keep in mind, like especially in Mod 1, but probably throughout your time here at Turing. These are the things that I would consider like good Post-it notes that you could like write down and like put somewhere around yourself to remind you of these. And in the spirit of like making that a little bit easier for you, I will post these slides when we're done here just so you have a copy of them. But a couple of things to keep in mind. The first is ask questions. Ask how or why, ask for help, ask for different perspectives. If you have a particular question in mind, I guarantee that you are not the only person who would benefit from the answer or a discussion around that question. So ask lots of questions. We want to encourage that as much as possible. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, cool. This is a big one. Done is better than perfect. We are going to be teaching you a lot of different things. We're going to be talking about a lot of different ways to do the same thing. And you're going to get a lot of different perspectives from not just the 3 instructors, but also each other, your mentor, other folks in the Turing community. With programming, there's always like 100 different ways to do a thing. And it's not always about choosing the exact one right way to do a thing, because there's like not one right way. There's always pros and cons to every approach. And so we really want you to keep in mind that done is better than perfect. I would rather have one of the, I should give credit where credit's due. One of the, oh, you all have probably met Eric. Eric from Mod 0 likes to say, that he would rather have a fully cooked half a chicken than a raw whole chicken. So done is better than perfect. I want things to work before I want them to be perfect. I'll keep repeating this as we do like project check-ins and things like that, but this is a big one. Cool, let's go on to the next slide, please. Be open to feedback. We will be giving lots of feedback throughout your time here at Turing, and you will be giving us, your instructors, and each other feedback. We are all here to help each other be the best programmers we can be, to help y'all get a job. And so any feedback that we give you, whether it is positive or constructive, is meant to help you be that best developer. It's meant to help you get that job and keep that job. We will be bringing feedback to you with only the best intentions to help you get better. And so just be open to that feedback. Like it's always a great time to have a discussion about like why something is going wrong, or maybe like why something is really great. So yeah, just be open to that feedback. Next, please. Collaborate curiously. You all are here like in this cohort together. There's a lot of togetherness. Y'all will be learning together on this journey together. We want you to be collaborating with each other as you go. And this idea of collaborating curiously, we really want you to focus on when you're working with another person. It is not about person A having one idea, person B having another, and choosing which idea you think is best. It's about persons A and B bringing their perspectives together to form like one A-B solution, right? So collaborate curiously, go into every pairing with this curiosity of like, ooh, I wonder like what perspective this other person can bring that will change or improve the way that I think about this thing. And similarly, like what perspective can I bring to the table that will help this other person as well? Be super curious. And then I think the last thing on here is try not to compare yourself to each other, okay? You all have different backgrounds, different life experiences. The first few weeks of Turing can feel like, oh my gosh, like we're all on like totally different planets in our programming journey. You don't need to compare yourself to each other. Turing is not the place where there's going to be like a valedictorian, and we're not going to like relegate the like bottom 5% of the class. There's no top of the class, there's no bottom of the class. Like we're all here on this journey together. So don't compare yourself to other people, each other. We're all different. If you must make a comparison, compare what you know today to what you knew yesterday. That is the only comparison that I care about. Okay, so try not to compare yourselves to each other. All right, expectations. We have talked about attendance, so I think I'm going to just skip over that for us like pretty quick. Just to reiterate, we are in session Monday to Friday from 9 to 4. So during those times, like please be checking Slack regularly. That's where like announcements and things will be posted. And if you can, during that time, limit background distractions as much as possible, with, of course, the obvious exception of pet cameos, because I love cute pets. We all love cute pets, I think, I hope. And then the last piece here is the instructors will be available on Slack from 9 to 4:30 Mountain Time, Monday to Friday. Outside of those times, we might be a little bit more delayed in answering questions that you have, particularly if you have things like technical questions. Those might get answered the following day, but we'll get to them as soon as is reasonably, as soon as is reasonable. I just forgot how English works. All right, cool. And then when we are in class, we're going to post the Zoom links for classes in the calendar. So if you haven't already, like I would get that Mod 1 calendar imported wherever you keep your calendar, or bookmark that calendar page. And if things change, we might like update Zoom links. Just keep refreshing that calendar so you get the most up-to-date version. When we're on Zoom, we would like you all to have your cameras on and use like headphones. Hopefully that, well, the idea with that is like make the audio quality as good as possible. Also, just a note on that, I didn't put it on the slide here, but if there's anything, like if there's like really distracting noise, like in my background or Ian or Mike's background, don't hesitate to tell us like, hey, there's like some weird beeping going on. Right? Like we don't want our own distractions to frustrate you all. So if we need to do something to help make the Zoom environment better, please let us know. We would like to limit the Zoom chat. So like when we're in class, the Zoom chat can get a little bit distracting to some folks, like me especially. So let's try and limit the chat in Zoom during lessons. If you have questions about a lesson, I mean, the best thing to do is just like ask that question during the lesson. That would be ideal. But if it's a question that's like only marginally related, or if you don't feel like you're in a place where you can like ask the question verbally, what we're going to be doing is putting threads in the 2105 code help channel, which y'all should be a part of at this point. And so if you have questions related to the lesson that didn't get asked during the class time, we'd like you to post them there. That way the questions and answers stay in Slack versus in Zoom, the chat is a little bit harder to like go back to at a future date. Please be attentive during lessons. We will be calling on folks to participate. So if you're not paying attention, it's just like super awkward when I'm like, hey, Ian, what do you think about that? And Ian's like in the other room. A little awkward. So please be attentive when you're here in class. If you need to miss class, let all three of us know. I'd rather you like let me know beforehand that you're not going to be there than just like bounce out of your Zoom window. And then the last piece is we are going to record the lessons and we'll post them to YouTube, and we'll be like linking out to those videos as we go. But the recordings really should be viewed as like supplemental learning materials. The recording shouldn't be your primary learning location. So really the live class session is where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, because you can ask us questions live in the moment. So again, please be attentive, please ask questions. I think that's what I have to say about that. Any questions so far? I know there's a lot of words on this slide. I'll just pause for a second just to give you all a chance to ask questions.
I also wanted to make add a thing that Ian pointed out, like if you use if you're not comfortable asking questions, like you can also DM all three of us with questions in private if that makes you feel more comfortable. I like we said, the Zoom chat's distracting, but the important thing is like questions asked in Zoom, like after the class is over, they're just gone forever. Like put things on Slack so we have a permanent record. So like we can, hey, let's go back and take a look at a thing. We'll post the YouTube link in the thing in your Slack channel. Also use the raise hand function for questions. I think that like, yeah, like don't just jump in and unmute yourself, because it's like some people are not really comfortable with doing just like unmuting yourself. Like I just don't feel comfortable unmuting myself generally.
Can just be clear about the DM questions. Like I would never say like, oh, Mike just asked this question over a private chat. And I would never want to do that. So if you do raise a question to us, through a direct message privately, we'll just say, hey, we got a question about such and such. And so please, we would rather you ask the question than sit in silence and like wonder what's going on.
Yep, for sure. And Alex, I see your hand up. Did you have a question?
Yeah, just kind of like expectations wise. It's been said like you should be checking your Slack really regularly between the class time hours, but also be really attentive in class and don't be distracting, but sit still, but also don't really hurt yourself by doing that. How does one manage that? Just asking the general group of people who have been through it, because that sounds to me like a list of impossible things to do all at once.
Yes, I would say, yeah, that's a great question. So yes, we do want you to check Slack regularly. During lessons, you can expect that you're not going to get anything that is like an announcement related to to class, like at that moment. So during class, I would say that should be your main focus. The reason I put this in here to check Slack regularly is if you're not used to having like a discussion board open like all the time, it can be easy to forget like, oh yeah, I need to open Slack in the morning and like double check some things. So yeah, this is not to say like every moment be looking at Slack, but like at the end of a lesson, maybe before you like, I don't know, start working on your project, like check Slack, make sure there's nothing in there that you need to respond to. Does that make sense? Or does that help?
Definitely. Thank you so much.
Cool. Yeah. Awesome. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. All right, cool. So as I said before, we will be giving you all feedback throughout the mod and throughout your time at Turing. We will strive to keep that feedback specific, actionable, and kind. And we will actually ask the same from you as well. So if you are giving feedback, here's an example of like unspecific, unkind, unactionable feedback. Mike, that lesson sucked. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, there's like not much Mike can do about that. Like, yep, okay, bummer. So if you need to give, or not need to, if you want to give feedback to an instructor, saying something more specific like, hey, Megan, when you were using your hands a lot, it was very distracting. Could you please keep your hands a little more quiet? Like, that is very specific. That's an actionable item that I can do. And also you didn't like disparage me. You didn't say like, I hate your hands. Just like, oh. Okay. All right. That's a thing. We'll help you. If we are like receiving feedback from you all that is not specific, actionable, or kind, we will give you feedback on that feedback. Some of the feedback that you'll get from us is going to come in the form of code review. So we'll be leaving some feedback notes on things like your independent challenges. We'll be giving you feedback on your projects during project check-ins and project evaluations. And you can also ask for us to review specific bits of code by request. So if you want us to take a look at something specific, what I would do is tag us in on GitHub and send us a Slack message. As Mike said earlier, GitHub tends to send out very, very many emails. We don't want to miss any requests that y'all have for feedback. So if you want feedback on something specific, go ahead and send us a Slack message in addition to tagging us on GitHub. And that'll be the best way for us to get that feedback to you. I think another thing that I want to say about code review is, as with all of our feedback, our code review is given with the best intention. I will speak from my own personal experience. When I was first starting to code, it was really difficult for me to separate constructive code feedback with my own worth as a human being. Okay. Just because you produce like some like less than good code does not mean that you are a less than good human being. Those things are totally different ideas. Okay. That's just from my own experience. Maybe you all are probably a lot more healthy than I am and don't have those issues, but just in case, just want to throw it out there. You are not your code. You are a wonderful human being that produces varying levels of good code. All right. We will have some end of week surveys. So keep an eye out for those on Fridays. Those are some like formal avenues to give feedback to your instructors. You can always also DM us if you have feedback for us. We're definitely open to that. But at the end of each week, we will send out a survey that you can give some feedback to us. We've talked a little bit about Slack, but just to draw your attention to two important channels, we will make announcements and post like course specific things or Turing specific things in the 2105 backend channel. And then if you have technical questions, we'd like those to go to the 2105 code help channel so that we can have more like discussion and lots of questions over there, and keep the 2105 backend channel to like announcements and like, you need to know this thing for tomorrow's, I don't know, pool party, whatever. I don't know when we'd ever have a pool party. We won't, but just an example. If you need to reach the instructors, DM all three of us on Slack. So just like put together a message, send it to all three of us in one DM. That way, whoever's available first can get back to you. And the last piece here is just be professional. Like, hopefully this goes without saying. This is really a time for you all to prepare for that job as a developer. And so being professional, building good relationships is going to help you both get and keep that next job. You know, your instructors are going to be great resources, or hopefully will be great resources for job recommendations, as long as like we have felt like you have been a professional human being. So what do I mean by that? If you're going to be late or need to miss a lesson, let us know beforehand. Like ideally, like more than a few minutes beforehand. But as soon as you know you're going to miss something, let us know. If you need something from us, please ask. If there is something that you need us to start or stop doing, ask for that. If you need to check in with us, ask for that. Just keep us in the loop on how you're doing, so that there's no like surprises. I think that's it. Any questions on this piece? Yeah, your instructors are on your team. Like, we're on your side, we're here for you. So just, you know, treat us with respect, and then we will be able to do the same for you. All right, let's go to the next one, which is about asking for help. Okay, so no one, I'm going to say, gets through Turing without ever needing help. So there's a lot of different avenues for getting help. One is your mentor. So if you have not already, I would definitely reach out to your mentor by the end of the day today, and start meeting with them regularly. Your mentor can help with technical things. They can help with job hunt things. They can help with just like
Some
keeping
restaurant
yourself
owners,
sane.
they're looking to
Oh my goodness. Was that me?
That was me. Video just
Okay.
playing in my background. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, so meet with your mentor regularly. They can be a big help. We also have a student support person. Her name is Madeline. She will, sometime today, she will be posting in the 2105 backend channel with instructions on how to meet with her. She's a great resource if you are struggling on specific technical concepts in Mod 1 and you need like a little more like specific help. She's great. You will also get some feedback from the instructors if we think you need to meet with her. And so if you get that note from us like, hey, you should set up some time with Madeline, you should set up some time with Madeline. Okay, she's here to help you all be as successful as possible. We do want you to ask for help early and often. A couple of different like help categories, I would say. If you have questions about like the calendar or where you should be at a specific moment in time, reach out to the instructors. We're going to have the most accurate and up-to-date information on that. If you have questions about project expectations or what something in like a lesson or a project spec means, reach out to the instructors. If you have questions about like, how do I use this specific method, or does anyone know how I might accomplish this goal, or what are some thoughts that people have about this bit of code, we'd love for that to go in the code help channel, because that technical piece, we want to get as many different perspectives out to you as possible. So post those questions in the code help channel, and you all are going to have the most you all will probably have the most input on any of those technical questions. So we want you all to be helping each other by like posting other ideas and other thoughts and trying things out together in that code help channel. You also have your mentors available for technical help. You've got upper mod students. So the mod 2 students will probably be reaching out in your 2105 backend channel within the next couple of days to start introducing themselves. You've got Madeline, and then you have the instructors. For technical pieces, like one thing that Alex mentioned in State of Turing earlier is like, we want to help you learn to learn new things. And part of that is knowing that you have a lot of different resources to go to with questions, not just your instructor or your manager, but a wide range of those avenues. So we are here to help with technical things for sure, but we also want you to ask those questions in a more public channel so that you all can like get involved, have those discussions, and have a much more rich and like, a much more rich experience. I think that's all I have to say on that. Any questions, Mike or Ian, anything you all want to add to that?
I mean, it's a lot. You'll figure it out as you go along.
Yeah, well, so if you do DM us a question, we may post it in the code help channel just on your behalf and say, we had this question come in, let's start a discussion or whatever, just so that, again, if you've got a question, chances are really good someone else in the cohort has the same question.
I guarantee someone else has that question. Yeah, and I think that like error on the side of asking too many questions, we'll dial that back in if we need to. I would say like, if you need things, ask for it. Ask for things that you need. Like, we are not here, like I said, we're not here to say no. Like, we're here to either say yes, or if something's unreasonable or won't work for whatever reason, we want to work to find something that will. Antonio?
Yeah, so do you guys have office hours? I get that we can post technical questions, but sometimes it's good to like post the question for everyone to see and then actually talk it out, you know, rather than getting lost in like the details of what it is you're asking for. How do we go about doing that or scheduling time with you to do that?
Message us and ask.
Yep. Yeah, and I would say sometimes I will, if someone asks a question, if I feel like the question is not getting like answered, or there's some like confusion, I'll say like, hey, let's jump on a Zoom call real quick. Or I should say, and as we go through the mod, you'll see our calendar like in the first week is really stacked with lessons and things to do. And we don't have a ton of like project work time. As we move on through the mod, we'll have more large chunks of time that is project work time, times where we're not on a Zoom as an entire cohort. Y'all have more like freedom in deciding like, okay, I'm going to work on my project. I'm going to work on some exercises. I'm going to do, you know, whatever it is I need to work on at this moment. Occasionally during those times, you'll see us post in the Slack channel like, hey, I'm going to be hanging out in this Zoom room. If you've got, you know, for an hour, if you have a question, come by and say hi. So we'll do those things. But yeah, as Mike said, like if you need to check in with us, DM us and we'll schedule that one-on-one with you.
One thing I would ask for me is like, if you do have questions and you raise your hand in Zoom, please keep that hand up, while we're still talking, because what happens is that when your hand is up and I'm talking to you, like you pop up to the upper left hand of my Zoom window with all your faces, because I like to look at who I'm talking to, and it's very disconcerting to me. Like I'm like yeah, well, you didn't, you're done, Antonio, but thank you, you did keep it up for most times, so it's easy for me to spot you and like figure out like who I'm talking to. Otherwise, you can imagine like you see this like this screen of just like 30 some faces. It's disconcerting for me to like just to not know who I'm directly talking to. But thank you for doing that, Antonio. Megan, anything else?
I think that's it.
Ian? Cool. We'll let you off early. We will start things for realsies at 1 p.m. We'll see you then. Goodbye. Enjoy your lunch. Eat something good. I have to eat a salad because that's my life now. It's terrible.